CC for the World Bank, His Excellency Baghdad Emere, President Turkic Investment Fund, Solomon Ebere, Partner BWF Legal and Business Services, and Biraj Oney, the founder and managing partner of Global Turk Capital. So the session will be moderated by Yusuf Erim from TRT World. The stage is yours, guys.
Thank you, Waleed. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We're going to be beginning shortly.
Okay. Siz ne zaman hazırsınız? Bana bir işaret.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be starting within a minute. Please take your seats. Okay, I'm going to begin. It's been about a little over a year since we were last together. The last time we were here, the Turkish economy was in a tougher situation, but now we're on the road to recovery thanks to Finance Minister Mehmet Şimşek, so that makes me very happy. I'm in a much better mood this year than I was last year, with the economic environment looking much better, and thankfully I have Deputy Finance Minister of the Republic of Turkey, Osman Çelik, with me, so he's going to be able to answer some of those questions. So I want to begin with him. I want you to share your thoughts on the recent developments in the Turkish economy and its impact on the investment and business environment.
Thank you, Sufey. And first of all, esteemed guests, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I warmly welcome all of you and extend my respectful greetings. And for the Turkish economy, let me say a few words. After this panel, our minister will make a comprehensive presentation, and let me say a few words for the developments. And our program focuses on the strengthening of macroeconomics and the financial stability, maintaining the fiscal discipline, ensuring the price stability, and implementing the structural reforms to enhance the growth by improving the efficiency and the competitiveness. And the program has already demonstrated significant results. A key indicator raising the confidence is the sharp decline in the CDS premium. You know, last year it was about 700 basis points in May 2023. Now it decreased to 270 basis. And additionally, our gross reserves increased by $58 billion and reached to $157 billion. And in this period, net reserve increases about $100 billion. And the economic rebalances began in the second half of the 2023. And the Turkish economy grew by 5.1% in 2023, and we project a growth rate of 3.5% for this year, and mainly driven by the positive contribution of net exports. And inflation reached last year about 65%, and with the disinflation process and with the help of the economic program, now it dropped to the 49%, and further decline are expected for the next period. And let me say a few words about the investment environment and the relations with the Arab countries, if I may.
Of course.
You know, when we look at the insight about our country's investment environment and the recent policies, over this 20 years period, Turkey has succeeded in becoming a significant production and export hub in its region through the transformation of industrial sector and infrastructure investment nationwide. And we consider predictable policies approach, and Turkey aims to remain an attractive destination for the investment nationwide. And last year, Turkey has just, in fact, at the beginning of the century, in 2003, Turkey had just 5,600 international companies, but today the number has grown up to over 80,000. And our programs and strategies tailored to support and enhance the business environment. And related with this, now we are applying HIT 30. HIT 30 means high-tech investment programs. This aims to attract $30 billion on high-tech investment in such the sectors in semiconductors, green energy, advanced manufacturing, and digital technology. And we invite the investors to Turkey, where it is strategic location, dynamic population, and diverse economy, robust economy, and a favorable investment environment together establish an optimal hub. Let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Safa, how are you? Good. Anyone who can guess which country she's from without Googling her gets a free coffee from me afterwards. You'll never guess. Anyway, the GCC, probably the first thing you think of when you think of investment in Turkey or where Turkey would think of investing, they go hand in hand together. I want to ask you, what are the key factors for success that have driven economic partnerships between Turkey and the GCC over the past decade?
Thanks very much, Yusuf. And just to make it easier, I'm from Sudan. No, thank you so much, and thanks to the organizers for inviting me to this esteemed panel. Let me first start by saying that the relationships between Turkey and the Arab world has deepened and expanded significantly over the last decade or so. In the GCC, which are the countries that I cover in my role at the World Bank, we've seen incredible and significant increase in trade between the GCC countries and Turkey. For example, in Saudi Arabia in 2022, it reached around 6 billion, and it's estimated to reach 30 billion in the medium to long term. In UAE, it's currently around 15 billion because of the recent trade agreements, and also estimated to reach 40 billion. So it's really growing across the GCC, and I think also on the other side, the investments from the GCC in Turkey have increased significantly. And I would say there are probably three factors that may explain some of this success. I think first and foremost, the GCC countries have embarked on a major diversification agenda. And that opened up a lot of sectors and areas for investments, which attracted Turkish companies coming in, especially in areas like manufacturing, like construction. So that was a reason, a factor that led to some of that expansion. Secondly, I think Turkey's location, being at the crossroad of Europe and Asia, that also attracted a lot of investments from the GCC. And as His Excellency was just mentioning, the environment, the approach that Turkey has taken has led to a lot of, had encouraged investments from the GCC in Turkey. And I think a third and important factor are these trade agreements, because they provide the access to markets, they provide the legal environments to encourage foreign direct investment. So put together, that had led to a successful decade and hopefully led the foundations for even greater partnership.
Thank you, Safa. Safa's a new friend, but our next guest is an old friend of mine, Bağdat Bey. I'm really happy to see him on the panel because he represents a whole different geography that's very, very important and that is emerging as well. There's been a great effort by Turkey to strengthen its relations with Central Asian countries, especially strengthening the organization of Turkic states, which Bağdat Bey used to be the president of. Now he's the president of the Turkic Investment Fund, and I'm really happy to listen to him talk about what is the Turkic Investment Fund, and exactly why was it formed, what is part of its mandate and its capacity.
Teşekkür ederim Yusuf Bey. Ben bugün çok önemli Türk-Arap Ekonomi Forumu'na katılmaktan gururluyum. Bu toplantı sadece Türkiye ve Arap ülkeleri için değil. Çalışıyor mu? Bu toplantı sadece Türkiye ve Arap ülkeleri için değil, aynı zamanda diğer Türk devletleri için de çok önemli. أنا سعيد جدا أن أحضر هذا المنتدى الاقتصادي التركي العربي، وهذا المنتدى مهم جدا ليس فقط لتركيا والدول العربية وأيضا لباقي الدول الناطقة بالتركية التي تشكل منظمة الدول التركية اللي هي أذربيجان، كازاخستان، كرغيزستان، أوزبكستان، تركمانستان، تركيا ومجر. Before responding your question, I would like to explain the term Turkic. Turkic means what is common for all Turkic-speaking nations. In terms of culture, language, like Arabic, we have Turkic language, like Arab countries have Arab. In terms of culture and traditions, of course, geography and history. From this point of view, we have an identical historical background. I mean, we, as the Turkic world and the Arab world, we have identical historical background, identical destiny, we can say, and identical mission for the future of our nations. Turkic nations have established their own political organization 15 years ago by the name of Turkic Cooperation Council of the Turkic States. Also, we have been thinking about another name, League of Turkic States, but later we decided to name it Cooperation Council of the Turkic States. Later it was reformatted to the Organization of Turkic States. So parallelly other various cooperation institutions have been established, and finally Turkic Investment Fund as the financial common first financial instrument mechanism of the cooperation of the Turkic states was established by the member of the Organization of Turkic States to facilitate the economic cooperation between our states, to develop, to contribute to the development of our countries, and facilitate the the highest possible level of economic integration of our states as the final cause. So this fund now became functional. It's a newly established fund, and as the main purposes has, first of all, of course, financing common joint projects in our Turkic world. Secondly, contributing to the economic integration. Third, also facilitating the attracting foreign investments to our economies. And number four, attracting resources financial resources, funds from other international financial institutions. So, how we are going to contribute to the economic integration of our countries? Of course, first of all, contributing to the increasing trade and economic relations, and in building infrastructure, improving the transportation, energy, digital connectivity, and many, many other areas that may serve the common economic interest and the integration of the Turkic nation.
Thank you very much. And Central Asia truly is a very important emerging region, not only for Turkish investors, but also Arab investors, and also Central Asian investors looking at Turkey and the Arab world as well. Another very important region, Africa. Africa has been an area where global powers have always competed, but now we're seeing Arab investors, Turkish investors cooperating in that region. And I want to talk to Solomon a little about what the geoeconomic advantages are for Turkish investors and also Arab investors that are planning on investing in Africa.
Thank you very much, Yusuf, and thank you to the organizers for having me. So the story between Africa and Turkey and the Arab world this past decade has been one of success and growth. And this partnership, this economic partnership, has been shaped by geographical proximity. A lot of the panelists have already highlighted this. And also focus on addressing 4 sectors: infrastructure development, energy transition, food security, and defense. And I thought I would share a few statistics with you to give a bit more meat on this growing economic partnership. So let's start with Turkey. Trade between Turkey and African nations climbed to $32 billion last year. Turkish companies' investment across the continent exceed $10 billion. Turkish companies employ more than 100,000 Africans. By the end of last year, Turkish contractors had worked on more than 1,800 infrastructure projects, such as airports, stadium, hotels, for a total worth of 85 billion. A few examples: Turkish contractors built the Tripoli Convention in Libya, the Kigali Convention Center in Rwanda, a number of state-of-the-art facilities in Senegal, and an airport in Niger. Just recently, just on Monday, Turkish company Yapı Merkezi and Uganda inked a deal for $3 billion. And this is one of the largest projects signed by a Turkish contractor overseas. This growing partnership also translates in other ways. So Turkish Airlines now serves more than 60 destinations in Africa. Turkey has quadrupled its number of embassies on the continent. And just last year, TRT launched an Africa news service that broadcasts, and that's quite exceptional, in English, French, Swahili for East Africa, and Hausa for West Africa. So through a mix of commercial and diplomatic efforts, spearheaded by the government in Ankara, in tandem with well-known Turkish companies, Turkey has been able to make its presence felt in Africa. And I'll just give a few more stats on the Arab side and focus on the GCC. I'll be very quick. The UAE, this last 10 years, committed 60 billion in Africa. It is now the 4th largest investor in Africa, behind China, Europe, and the US. Its exports and imports have increased by 30%. Qatar committed 25 billion. And now Qatar Airways serves 30 destinations in Africa. Saudi Arabia invested 7.2 billion. That's 12 times the value it was a decade ago. Why are they all doing this? Because Africa is a growing market, but underdeveloped and untapped. So there are huge opportunities for both Turkish and Arab investors on the continent.
Thank you, Solomon. So we talked a little about Central Asia, we talked a little about Africa, but at the end of the day, this is the Turkish-Arab Economic Forum, so let's get back to Turkey and our Arab countries. Barış, now Arab investors who are looking at opportunities in Turkey, what are they seeing and is it enough for them?
Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you, the panel, and thank you for the organizers for inviting me. It's an excellent venue to discuss all these relationships, obviously. I'd like to focus a little bit on the FDI environment with numbers, if I can, since I think these are important to know. The FDI environment in Turkey has increased a lot in the last 21 years. The total FDI we received up to date is more than $200 billion, mostly from Europe, by the way, and it's only like 7% from the Middle East. Most of these investments were done on the services industry, 60% to services and 40% to industrials. 7 billion happened in 2022 and 5.6 billion in 2023. We were seeing a little bit of a downward trend, but the trend has been going up in 2024 up to this point. Outbound investments are interesting from Turkey to outside what Turkish companies are doing. These are pure equity investments rather than construction work. Turkish companies made $65 billion worth of investments in the last 20 years. It was $250 million in 2022, and now it's over 5.7 billion, almost close to 6 billion as of 2023. And for the first time, Turkish outbound investments have surpassed Turkish inbound investments for the first time. This, I think, is very important to know because Turkish entrepreneurs are no longer investing in Turkey, but they're also investing outside of the country. And this interaction between Turkish investors going outside and foreign investors coming in are generating more and more business opportunities, as we are seeing. 30% of all these outbound investments were in industrials and 70% in services. So Turkish investors going abroad are investing in various different sectors. Foreign direct investors coming to Turkey are also investing in various different sectors. Turkey is not short of investment opportunities because Turkey has manufacturing capabilities, services capabilities, including financial, telecoms, technology, as we've been discussing, some fintech opportunities. So Turkey provides ample opportunities for investment for foreign investors. Obviously, the current macro situation in the last couple of years have not really helped in FDI, but it's improving, especially over the last 1 year. All the efforts are moving in that direction. But, you know, it was in the old days, we were seeing investments from Middle East to US and Europe in large sums, mostly in the real estate and some other industries, but mostly in the real estate. The world that we're living in with conflicts everywhere, including uncertainties in the US, in Europe, in Asia, and everywhere in our region, I think the investors need to look into well-experienced companies to invest in rather than their usual areas to invest. This is very important because the management, especially the managers who manage these companies in Turkey and the fund managers who manage their private capital investments in Turkey have become very resilient, knowing how to invest in especially very volatile and uncertain environments. So if Middle Eastern investors look into Turkish companies to invest in that lens, to grow not just in Turkey but together outside of Turkey, that would be very, very helpful. So I think this is very important. Usually Middle East investors are investing family-owned monies outside of the Middle East rather than in funds, private capital funds. There has been some investments in the past in Turkey from the Middle East, but it's not sufficient. We've only had like $14 billion of investments over the last 20 years from Middle East to Turkey, and almost 90% is from UAE to Turkey. For example, we don't see Saudis in Turkey. There's an interesting phenomenon happening, obviously, since 2016 with the Saudi 2030 vision. Saudi has become a net exporter of capital and transformed itself into an importer of capital, and a lot of the companies are looking into investing in Saudi. But this interaction, I believe, is going to also provide resources for Saudi companies to invest outside of Saudi. So this is a two-way interaction. There is no inward or inbound or outbound FDI. So the more investments regionally, the better businesses obviously flourish, and every country benefits from this. So I think we should look at this always both ways, from each country perspective. And we are, I think, seeing this and going to see this more as we move forward.
Thank you very much. Deputy Minister Çelik. Now, the Ministry of Finance always has a plan. They have their medium-term economic plan, they have long-term projections, but I think former heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Tyson, said everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Now, Turkey suffered devastating twin earthquakes a year and a half ago, and I'm sure that really resulted in the finance ministry having to re-strategize a lot of plans and probably made it very, very difficult. Since this natural disaster, what type of strategies has the finance ministry employed to bolster financial cooperation, joint development, and any type of drawing of investment or investing outside?
Yeah. Thank you. As it is well known, we have faced the devastating earthquake disaster in last year, and the earthquake disaster caused enormous material losses of more than $100 billion. And this situation created a huge financing grid for the reconstruction, and consequently it has become increasingly critical to prioritize the infrastructure activities in a systematic manner and to align the associated financing within a comprehensive framework. An effective approach is joint infrastructure initiative between the countries that address share the challenges, and integrating infrastructure development across countries and the regions can stimulate economic growth, improve connectivity, and enhance the access to the services. And for the sustainable infrastructure initiative, we should revisit the public-private partnership, PPP model. And we present this model because we have successfully implemented PPPs over the past decade, and particularly in infrastructure financing. And our experience shows that the PPP model offers a practical and scalable solution for mobilizing private sector investment and innovation to accelerate the realization of the critical infrastructure projects. And apart from the PPP model, EPCF model, engineering, procurement, construction, together with the finance, we call the EPCF model, remains to be the key model for realizing the public infrastructure investments where sovereign is the sole borrower for the project, which facilitates the lower funding cost. And however, beyond the financing, the importance of the sustainable, resilient and the full future-proof infrastructure cannot be overstated. And therefore, financing decisions should adopt a multi-phased approach that should take into consideration the national sustainable development priorities and achieving multilateral commitment. And at this stage, I want to say a few words related with our new initiative, related with the Disaster Reconstruction Fund. It's newly established after the earthquake. The purpose of this fund is to provide, manage and transfer the resources required for the reconstruction, infrastructure and superstructure works in disaster region mainly to the relevant public institution in an effective and transparent manner. The board of the funds is chaired by our Minister of Finance, Treasury and Finance, and the DRF, this fund, can borrow on this on behalf under the guarantee of Treasury. And it aims to create a centralized and transparent structure by gathering the resources, especially those provided by foreign financial institutions or foreign investors. Those resources will be used to sustain the social life in the first place through rebuilding the disaster areas and redeveloping the region. And at this point, this fund appears as a direct transmission mechanism of a social finance. And this is because due to the fund's dedicated structure on the expenditure side, and moreover, the structure of this fund offers a transparent and flexible way in terms of monitoring and performance measurement of these goals. For this reason, this fund is an effective tool through which can direct the external financial resources, especially the social finance. Let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. I kind of feel like after the Arab Spring, the last 2 years, 3 years has been a period where Turkey and the GCC have rediscovered themselves and rekindled that relationship after many years. And when you look at the GCC, there's many young leaders, the Emir of Qatar, Mohammed bin Zayed in UAE, Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia, young ambitious leaders that will have these big projects, big ideas. And when we look at Turkey and the Arab world, they're all trying to capitalize on these geoeconomic strengths. Exactly how can they do this to enhance trade, investment, growth? What are your thoughts, Safa?
Thank you. So I think generally speaking, regional partnerships are very important, right? Even if we don't just think of these two regions, there's benefit, and as my fellow panelists said, everybody stands to benefit from them. So I think it's important to think of the future of economic cooperation between the two regions in terms of the new technological advances in the world, how to position themselves to leverage those, to take advantage of them, and drive this transformative change and reshaping markets and labor dynamics. So given that this is happening so fast, I think it's important to position themselves as regions in terms of the new sectors that are emerging, climate and technology. And we heard in this morning's session a lot of talk around renewable energy, around AI, and so it's really important to think about those as we're looking forward in terms of what kind of partnerships and engagements need to take place. A low-carbon future will sharply increase demand for critical minerals. And so in what ways can the two regions work together? Just some data here is that in the next 20 years, the world will need 4 times more critical minerals for clean energy technologies. So that's an area that I think both regions can leverage their strengths to come together in. Another, I think, important point is that the two regions can mitigate the risks that are now going to happen given the new requirements in countries like Europe, for example, which really makes small and medium-sized enterprises vulnerable. So supporting them, preparing them to be able to compete in these markets becomes a very important area for the two regions to work on. We also saw that there's a lot of geoeconomic fragmentation in terms of how they're shaping global value chains. So coming together to address that fragmentation would also be critical. So these are the things that the two regions need to think about moving forward. Now, how can they leverage that? Well, the strategic locations that both regions have, I think, becomes critical. The complementary resources, there is the energy wealth in the GCC, there is the experience and knowledge and labor and sort of tech solutions in Turkey, and the investment capabilities of both regions. So I think putting those together, they can enhance bilateral trade, they can attract global investments, and they can drive economic growth not just in their own regions, but actually globally.
Okay, thank you. Hopefully we'll continue to see these win-win situations together. Now, Badat Bey, before you told us what the Turkic Investment Fund is and its capacity, but I want to know how can the Turkic Investment Fund contribute to investments not only in Central Asia, but in the Arab world?
I have already mentioned that cooperation with other financial institutions all around the world, especially in our region, is one of our top priorities. And of course, when we talk about cooperation between financial institutions and investment exchange, Arab funds and banks come first to mind. So we have already started very good consultations and talks with the existing Arab financial institutions. Today we thank the Minister of Finance of Turkey for inviting us to this meeting today to be part of this Arab-Turkish business discussions. 1 month ago, the Minister of Economy of Kazakhstan organized a very good meeting, our meeting with the Arab Coordination Group, the President of Islamic Bank of Development, Director of Saudi Fund of Development, and President of OPEC Fund, and representatives of Abu Dhabi Fund, Qatar Fund, and Kuwait Fund of Development were present at this meeting. So we started very serious consultations how to build and develop our relations. They have shown great interest in cooperating with our fund in co-financing the projects in our member states, because the Turkish Investment Fund represents 7 governments. So we are continuing our communications and the cooperation with these Arab funds. Also with the help of the Minister of Investment of Uzbekistan recently in Samarkand, also we continued our discussions with Arab funds and Asian funds and other financial institutions in our region. So our countries are also very interested in this kind of cooperation, because all of our member states have very good economic relations with Arab countries. Not only Turkey, of course, in the forefront. Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, they have very deep and very productive cooperation with Arab countries. So I am sure that Turkish Investment Fund also can be very effective in contributing to developing these relations in the future, and we'll do our best for that, Yusuf.
Thank you. Solomon, you talked about investing in Africa and all the advantages, and whenever I go to these types of economic forums, everyone's always optimistic and talking about the good side, but there's obviously challenges, there's obviously obstacles, and I want you to sit down, give us a very sober reality of what an investor should look out for when they're investing in Africa, because healthy investments and success stories are important, and being prepared is important. So what would your advice be about the challenges?
You're absolutely spot on. And if I were a Turkish or Arab investor considering investing in Africa, I would be looking at 4 potential obstacles in particular. Trade barriers. As you know, there are quotas, restrictions on goods and services. There's an easy way out. Government can help with new trade agreements, and that was mentioned earlier. Security concerns. And by security, I mean both physical security and 2, theft. So, I think it was mentioned, mining and clean energy. In the mining space, for instance, that is something that sadly tends to happen, and Mozambique being a good example. Third potential obstacle, infrastructure. Sadly, infrastructure in Africa can be deficient. So that would mean that my investment might be more than just an investment, let's say, in a power plant, in a mine. I also need to provide energy and therefore invest in that corresponding infrastructure. Last but not least, and that's something that we get a lot from our clients, having the right contacts. Africa can be prone to intermediaries telling you, I'm close to the minister, I'm friends with the president, we went to the same boarding school. So there's a lot of intermediaries that will not be helpful. So you need to do your due diligence properly. Get the right contacts in Africa. And I will be remiss not to end on a more positive note. I do think, from what we're seeing, that both Turkish and Arab investors have a reputational advantage in Africa. In other words, Africans see you as good investors because you don't come with the same baggage than Europeans, Americans, or Chinese recently. And Uganda is a good example. Chinese contractors have been replaced progressively by Turkish contractors, including Yapi Merkezi.
So beware of snake oil salesmen, you're saying, in short. Barış Bey, we talked about Arab investors in Turkey, but investment's a two-way street. And when you think about the relationship between Arab investors in Turkey, it's generally the investment coming to Turkey, but there's investment from Turkey also going the other way. And I wanted you to talk a little about this. How can this be enhanced? How can this be improved where Turkish investors are getting these good opportunities throughout the Arab world?
Yeah. Thank you, Yusuf. Yes, I see this. I've always seen this as a two-way street, and it's from our name as well. We say our name is Global Turk Capital, globalizing Turkish companies to go abroad, actually, because the more outside they go, the more business comes to Turkey. So it's that sort of an advantage. Before Turkish investors going abroad, let me say a few words about how maybe Middle Eastern investors should invest in Turkey, because there's a little amount. I mean, Europeans invest very easily, but Middle Eastern investors invest not so easily. There are reasons for this. First of all, it's not a straightforward investment environment which we are living in Turkey. Turkish operating environment is very sophisticated, I would say, and challenging. So coming and investing in, even if it's a real estate investment, it's not that easy. You need to really know who to invest with, where to invest, and all sorts of things. So that's one area. There are some language barriers and cultural barriers as well. But thanks to Turkish TV series, which is helping a lot, we are seeing more tourists because of Turkish series coming to Turkey than other way. This year, I think we are going to receive like 60 million tourists, which is an enormous number. And we have been seeing them from all over the world, from India to Africa to Middle East and every place. More tourists mean obviously more investments, because then it's more cultural fit and everything. So that becomes easy. People like to invest in places where they enjoy doing business. So it's a human matter. I mean, it's a human-to-human interaction. It's not company to company or government to government. It's people to people. So people like doing business with the people they like. So that's very basic human instinct. So I'm sure we will be receiving more, but I would recommend, especially the Middle East investors, when they are investing in Turkey, to look into either investing with some good companies, joint venturing with them, or acquire them, or invest in them, or if it's just financial investments, then invest with Turkey-based or funds that are investing in Turkey. So those fund managers, who are usually called GPs, general partners, invest as an LP, a limited partner. So just invest into those funds who are investing into companies. And most of the good funds who are looking into investments are pretty much backed by the institutions we call DFIs, the Development Financial Institutions, IFC, EBRD, FMO, DEG type investments. So because these DFIs have a critical role, especially in the broader region of Central Eastern Europe, Turkey, Caucasus, Central Asia, Middle East, North Africa, and Africa. So they invest in these markets, and they know they have developed skills to invest in these markets. So if you are investing into funds that are being also invested by these institutions, then you make less of a mistake. So that's one area that I'd like to stress. And then these funds invest mostly into mid-market companies where Turkey is very strong. Turkey today has registered to Turkish Chamber of Commerce about 1.2 million companies in every sector and every subsector. So you can, invest in the mid-market. It's not a country where you can come and invest, I have $1 billion I want to invest. That's not very easy. But if you have smaller pockets, you divide that into smaller, maybe sector funds, of $200 million, $500 million funds, and put that money into these funds, then I think you can invest into a great mosaic of the Turkish manufacturing, services, technology, AI, renewable energy, also healthcare, which is very important now. Healthcare is incredibly good and competitive in Turkey, which a lot of patients come from the Middle East. So there are ample opportunities in that area. So you can jointly enter. For the Turkish companies to invest in the Middle East, to date, it was probably 90% construction companies who are building infrastructure, building housing, building structures in the Middle East. Manufacturing companies have not moved to Middle East in large sums yet, but in the last one and a half years, we have seen enormous number of companies going to Egypt to establish manufacturing facilities. That obviously Egypt is in the right track of moving forward, but at the same time, because of the interesting situation that Turkey is living through over the last 1.5 years, the costs have become higher in manufacturing. So the Turkish manufacturers are looking for a lower cost environment or more productive environment to move their plants to or diversify. This is a good theme right now, so Middle East can attract these Turkish manufacturers. So I think they should be looking into these areas more. Also to Caucasus and Central Asia. There are a lot of Turkish manufacturing companies doing business there. And they are in the trend of globalizing. So I think the region can benefit from Turkish companies going global in serious numbers.
Thank you very much, Barış Bey, especially the healthcare. I'm going to have to look into the hair transplant thing. I hear we're pretty good at it. And ladies and gentlemen, we've already gone over 10 minutes, so I'm about to close this panel out. Deputy Minister Çelik, do you have any closing thoughts you'd like to leave? Okay, then. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm officially closing this panel.
Thank you, Yusuf. Thank you, Yusuf, Your Excellency. So, ladies and gentlemen, another change in the schedule. We will start now with the keynote of His Excellency Mehmet Şimşek. A keynote, a presentation that every one of us will be waiting it from year to year on the same stage, Turkish-Arab Economic Forum.